Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Holy Plot. This is Liam, Jacob, and James, and we are back with a podcast episode. I know it has been a long time since we've done one of these. We kind of are approaching it differently than we used to. So if you are looking for reviews, we have reviews, but these videos, these more long form ones, we're going to try to make them a bit more conversational. We're going to get a little bit deeper into some broader topics. In this episode, you know it because you clicked on it, we're going to be talking about video game adaptations. Before we get into it, just want to remind you, like, subscribe, comment, do all the YouTube stuff. It really helps us out. We get excited after every subscriber. I think right now we are at 44?
Yes.
See, I haven't memorized. It could be you. So
it should be
so. It should be you. Why isn't it you? Am I doing something wrong? I don't understand. Anyway, Jacob, talk to me about video game adaptations, please.
Yes, so we have a list of a few topics that we're going to go down the line on, where there's video game adaptations have kind of been on the rise. I feel like they're going to be the new big thing. We kind of wanted to shift the podcast to be a little bit more conversational because we kind of felt like we weren't able to do exactly what we wanted with it. So this week, Gran Turismo came out. We all loved it, especially Liam. So we have a review out on that. Please go watch it.
That's a lie from hell.
Yeah, it is a life from hell. And we want to use stuff like this, events in the entertainment industry to kind of broaden the conversation and talk about stuff we do care about. So first, we're going to talk about video game adaptations. So I will just start out the conversation. I feel like I have a pretty standard favorite video game adaptation. I mean, a lot of people loved it this year, which is The Last of Us show. I love the games. I love the characters, and the show has kind of just been this thing that I've been looking forward to forever, and I think they really hit the nail on the head. I know you guys both watched it. In fact, we watched it together.
So, yeah, it was amazing.
It was fantastic. I mean, James, what did you think about it?
I have the same answer. Like, my favorite video game adaptation that's come out is definitely The Last of Us. I was trying to think of like something different to shake it up, but I mean, it was really good. And I haven't played the game in a long time, but I watched the entire season and just loved it. And it's just a good show outside of like being a video game adaptation. It's just really, really good.
Yeah, that's like my whole thing with video game adaptations. And I think there's a place for them to just kind of be like tributes to the game. We're going to talk about another video game adaptation with Mario, and I think it is effective at what it does, but I think video game adaptations should be a good movie first or a good show first. And I think that's kind of what they've been missing. And I think Last of Us was definitely that. Well, you can tell. What are you going to say, Liam?
For sure with that, because I have not played Last of Us. Mm-hmm. So I went into it totally blind, and the only exposure I have to that universe is the show. And as someone who is not a fan going into it, I still loved the show. I mean, it was amazing. So if that is the argument that a video game adaptation should first and foremost be a good movie or TV show or whatever it is, then Last of Us absolutely succeeded, because it did what a video game adaptation should do, which is entertain and make happy fans of the game, but also make new fans who
I think it definitely did that too.
Yeah, exactly. Who will check out the show or the movie, say that looked cool, and then go play the games, which I'm going to do once I get a PlayStation.
It definitely did that, because, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but the sales for the game, I don't know the exact numbers, but they were like 300% higher than they were the past month, and like they were just exploding. I mean, The Last of Us sales, and now we're getting something I'm excited for, which is kind of video game adaptation adjacent. I'm going to throw it in there because it's pretty cool, is the Halloween Horror Nights Last of Us stuff this year. I mean, if you told me 10 years ago that video games were going to be in theme parks, I'd look at you like you're crazy. But here we have, we have 2 video games at Universal this year.
Yeah.
So it's like,
it's wild.
We're going to that, by the way. So if you're interested in Halloween Horror Nights, we are going to be on the ground covering it a little bit. So stay tuned.
We definitely are.
So as far as just like adapting the source material, how do you think Last of Us did? What sets it apart from another video game adaptation? What gives it that leg up? Is it The writing, the acting.
I think the obvious answer is Druckmann's involvement. I think him being there at the helm, show running it alongside, Mason, I believe, it definitely made the show better than it could have been. And I think that's gonna start being a recurring thing. Cory Barlog, who, if you don't know, he is the game director for God of War 2018, and he was producer on Ragnarok. He is going to be involved to the same degree with the Amazon show for God of War, which is
well, yeah, it's especially going to work for these like Sony exclusives, because now these directors for the games, they do so much motion capture with these actors, so they're going to be able to take all that and just take it right to the show.
Yeah, and especially with Druckmann, because he's such a visionary. I mean, and I'm not going to get off on a dick ride on Neil Druckmann, but he really changed how video games narratively worked, and people looked at him sideways a little bit. I mean, I like to compare him to like George Lucas or James Cameron, where he just completely saw a new way of doing things. So yeah, James, I totally agree with that. I mean, I want them to keep. I mean, Nintendo was heavily involved in Mario, and
that's what I was going to say. Yeah, so I think that a difference between what makes a good video adaptation from one that leaves fans disappointed is a lot of the good video game adaptations get the creators and the people who worked on the video game involved, which seems like such a no-brainer, but it's something that we haven't seen that often, surprisingly.
No, it's a shame.
It also seems like these older times that video games were adapted, it was like studios looked at it and said, okay, how can we retool this? And
it was almost a shame to be a video game adaptation.
Yeah, and it's like now it's more
a stigma, like, for sure.
Now it's more like they're looking at it and saying, how do we just translate this to the screen instead of, I feel like, the way it used to be. Probably because now more people who are working on movies actually play video games.
Yeah, true.
It's starting to help.
So Liam, you noticeably do not have Last of Us. You did not say that it was your favorite. So
it is not.
No shame. That's completely fine. What would you say is your favorite video game adaptation?
This is going to come out of absolute nowhere, because I don't think we've even talked about it before. It is, objectively speaking, I think I have it at like a 7 out of 10. But I love this movie so much. My favorite video game adaptation of all time is Mortal Kombat 1995.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Have you seen that movie?
I have not seen that movie, but that's a deep cut.
It is.
Dang.
I didn't know that.
First and foremost, it is, when it came out, people really loved it. And then it kind of got dunked on with the onset of the internet and all that. But it's kind of had a resurgence in the Mortal Kombat community, where it's almost a cult classic now, and people can recognize some of the really cool stuff it did. It is it's an adaptation of the first game, which, if you don't know, the story of the first game is that there's this tournament that decides the fate of the Earth, whether or not it's going to get merged with this other dimension. And the way that it's settled, instead of having a big war, is that they just take the best fighters from Earth and then the other dimension, which is called Outworld, and they make them fight, and then whoever wins wins. Yeah, it's a really cool concept. The story of the Mortal Kombat games is actually really cool.
I'm a little in the dark on the Mortal Kombat lore.
Yeah, all that I knew was from seeing like the first 20 minutes of the 2021 movie, like in a bar. It was just on, and I was like, what is this? And then I realized, oh wait, this is Mortal Kombat. And I got some of that World Tournament stuff. Yeah, no, that's not good. Yeah, I got some of the World Tournament stuff, and then I left. So,
and it's funny because it's not a perfect adaptation, because first and foremost, I think there are like 2 drops of blood in this whole movie, which, if you know anything about Mortal Kombat,
that's absurd.
I know, but here's the thing: this movie, despite that, has an insane amount of heart to it, and you can tell that all of the people involved are really going for it here. Like it is a martial arts movie. So every actor on screen they are trained to do it, and they have actual martial artists in these roles physically fighting each other. even Goro, like the giant four-armed monster dude, it's a practical puppet. It's not CGI. Now
That is awesome.
There is really shitty CGI in this movie, don't get me wrong, but it is so funny. It is so, like, Reptile. If you, viewer and co-hosts, just look up Mortal Kombat 95
it'll be on screen. It'll be on screen.
Yeah, put it on screen. It's so shit. But the movie has just like this aura of lovable cheese to it. And then it's also like, it's so stupid and corny that it U-turns back into awesome. The two best fights in the movie are Johnny Cage and Scorpion, and Liu Kang versus Reptile once he stops being CGI. I won't get into it. But the martial arts on display...
I'm looking at this here, man.
It's it. But the martial arts on display, it's really, really fun to watch. And the soundtrack... You know the soundtrack. If you know anything about Mortal Kombat, you're already familiar with the soundtrack. The Mortal Kombat theme song is from this movie.
No, you know what? I appreciate the unique take.
I love the movie.
Liam, I gotta admit, I'm a little shocked that this was your answer.
It's got rough edges to it. But as far as just a guilty pleasure cult classic, it's hard to beat this movie for me. So,
well, I'm not surprised that it's your answer because it's better per se. I just thought it was going to be Edge Runners.
No, I wouldn't say so. I loved Edge Runners, but for me, like, for something to be my favorite video game adaptation, I would have to have some connection to the video game, you know, because I think Edge Runners and Last of Us are both better pieces of media, but as far as just what I purely enjoy based on the video game itself and the movie combined, it's got to be Mortal Kombat 95. And I'm glad it's making a resurgence.
I think that's going to be a barrier that video game adaptations are going to need to break, is getting... I think Last of Us did this to a degree, and I think particularly, oh my god, Arcane did this, where it's getting people who haven't touched it on board. And it's an awesome opportunity, you know?
For sure. I mean, my dad watched Last of Us. That dude hasn't played anything since the GameCube.
I mean, Edge Runners did that for me. I haven't finished it yet, but I was really enjoying it. And then honestly, just to speak more to me playing The Last of Us, I played it like a decade ago and I didn't even finish it. So a lot of The Last of Us season was very new to me. And it completely got me hooked on the story, and I didn't feel like it was spoiling a better version or anything like that. Like, I felt like I could watch the show and then immediately go back and revisit the game. So it kind of won me over as a new fan.
Well, Liam, I really like your pick, and I think now that we've talked a little bit, I think we can kind of move on to what I want to ask you guys, which is about dream video game adaptation. So, Liam, I know your answer to this.
Yes.
And I think it's a pretty popular one. So, for fantastic reasons. So, Liam, please enlighten us.
If you have watched this channel even a little bit, you know that I am a big Nintendo guy. Specifically, I'm a massive fan of Zelda. And my absolute dream video game adaptation, which is never going to happen in a million years, but it is my dream one, is for Studio Ghibli to do Zelda. Full 2D animated, Miyazaki directing. I think that would honestly put me in the ground if that happened.
That would be unbelievable.
And now a Zelda movie is pretty much inevitable at this point with how successful Mario was. So if in my perfect world vision, if Ghibli was doing it, I would want them to do maybe even if I can get really crazy with it, maybe even a two-parter adapting Ocarina of Time. But for the movie we are actually going to get,
Illumination.
Yes, I would want them to do an original thing. I wouldn't want them to touch it. But that's my answer.
Unless they give it DreamWorks.
Yeah, so James beat me to it. I mean, James, talk about that for a second, because we've talked about that at length.
Yeah, so as soon as the Mario movie got a lot of money, it was like, it's so obvious, you know, that probably Zelda is the next thing to move on. But Universal owns both DreamWorks and Illumination. So Jacob and I talked about how those could be two very, like, drastically different movies, and how I mean, yeah, if you look at the new Puss in Boots movie, DreamWorks is capable of really doing something good. So personally, I would hope that Universal gives Zelda to DreamWorks and maybe just lets Illumination continue to do more stuff in the Mario world.
Yeah,
But
I
we'll
think
see.
the whole DreamWorks tone fits Zelda way more. And
Yeah,
Liam,
Absolutely.
because it's fun and
You-
it's adventurous, but it also takes itself
It's
seriously.
got an edge to it. It
Yeah.
does.
the lore runs deep, and Liam, we know it's an inevitability.
Yeah, it's happening.
So, realistically, what do you want them to do? Like, what do you think is going to happen?
Realistically, what I think is going to happen is that they're going to give it to Illumination, and it's going to be fine. But it shouldn't just be fine. Is the problem?
Yeah.
I think Illumination is much more suited to do something like Mario, or if they wanted to do like Kirby or something. But something like Zelda or Metroid, I agree would be much better suited to DreamWorks. In a perfect world, but a realistic world, which I know is an oxymoron, I would have DreamWorks do it, and I would have it be stylized, kind of like how Puss in Boots was, but obviously different, but sort of that same life to it, creativity to it. But I would still have them do an original story.
I feel like it would be very tempting for these movie studios to maybe want to just do Breath of the Wild.
Well, I think
I disagree, honestly. I don't
yeah,
think.
I disagree.
Because
Well, I think it's possible that they could want to, not that it should happen.
They could want, not even that it should happen. I don't think that's what they would do. I think that what they would want to cast the widest net possible, like they did for Mario. Like Mario wasn't, there was Odyssey in it, of course, but it wasn't like there wasn't any cappying, or there also wasn't anything we saw.
Yeah,
for
it was like a massive homage to everything, and it got
Right,
as many
and
people as possible.
I think they would do the same thing with Zelda. I think the aesthetic of it would be, if we've seen anything like it, would be like when they brought Zelda over to Mario Kart, that map, where it's just kind of a homogenized Zelda world.
I mean, personally, I think the aesthetic would be Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
I really don't think so.
I don't think it's going to be older Zelda.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's not an adaptation of the story, I can just see them visually going for that link.
Well, honestly, especially if it's Illumination, they especially wouldn't do that.
So I want to actually
definitely not.
So I want to mention this, because this kind of popped up in my head. Illumination is teaming with veteran artist and former Netflix head of adult animation Mike Moon to launch Moonlight, a new adult animation label of its own. Moonlight is being set up under Illumination umbrella and will focus on animation for adults as the company expands beyond its traditional family-friendly fare. Our films will be produced by Moonlight, will be included in Illumination's existing exclusive distribution agreement with Universal.
So I did not see that coming.
So it is possible. This is from last year, September 26, 2022. It is very possible that this Zelda movie is a part of that, and I think
it
definitely
is. Not. No, it's not. They're not going to make a Zelda movie geared towards adults. Let me rephrase that. They're not going to greenlight and create a Zelda movie that could be construed even a little bit as not being kid friendly. I'm sorry, it's just not happening.
Well, that's kind of a shame, because
don't get me wrong, I would much prefer it, but it's just
Liam,
not happening.
I think you're right, Liam.
Yeah, you got to look at this from a money perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Like Zelda has a massive appeal, and I think it is like a peak DreamWorks How to Train Your Dragon type media, where outside looking in, even something like Wind Waker, which is as cartoony as it gets, has a really mature yet still accessible for kids story. I don't know how hard they would lead into that in this movie. It's something that it remains to be seen. I think if the more Nintendo is involved with it, the better, because for all the crap people give Nintendo, they have not really dumbed down Zelda ever as far as story goes, even with Tears of the Kingdom, which was a massive, massive release, sort of marketed for everybody. They did not shy away at all from some fucked up shit happening in that game. So it'd be interesting to see. It's definitely my most interest piqued media coming out soon. That's inevitable in my opinion. But I think we probably talked about Zelda long enough. Jacob, what is your dream video game adaptation?
Yes, so this is something I actually have not talked about on here, but I am a massive fan. I've alluded to it a couple times. I am a massive fan of the Destiny franchise.
Oh, yeah.
And I think this is also a bit of an inevitability, and I have some details as to why I think that. Kind of prepared here, but I want them desperately to make a Destiny anime sort of thing. I would like it to be kind of an anthology sort of thing, because if you know anything about Destiny, for better or for worse, the lore is very deep, and the
lore is amazing.
The lore it's one of my favorite.
It's top tier.
Yeah, it's top tier. And Destiny has absolutely gotten better at the presentation of that lore. But if you go and search for some of it, I mean, I was showing James some videos on it last night. It sounds like it's nearly impossible to adapt.
I was so lost. It was crazy.
But I think
I don't think so.
No. Well, what I mean adapt, like present in a game world. And I think they've gotten really good at that. But it's still, you still have to go looking for it a little bit. And I think an adaptation of any multitude of options would be fantastic for that.
Well, I see what you're saying, because it's a way for old fans to actually enjoy it, not as like descriptions, to just see it like brought to screen. But also for new people, that's just as good as an entryway into the franchise for people. So I kind of see why you think that Destiny would be good to have like an Edge Runner type show that goes alongside the games.
I want to read a quick tweet, or I guess post on X for you guys. So this is from, I believe I'm pronouncing this right, Gabriel Van Hoos. Forgive me, I'm sorry. Mr. Gabriel said, I recently took the gig as head of linear media for the Destiny franchise at Bungie. That is his title. I might make this up. This new position will work with the Destiny Universe leadership team to create strategy and execute the operations for expansion of Destiny into new media, including TV, films, books, comics, and audio. So like an audio podcast or something. I've wanted Destiny comics forever. I mean, perfect. Destiny has a universe worth of stories waiting to be told, and I look forward to connecting best-in-class partners to our amazing creative team to bring life to them for current and new fans, like James was talking about. So I think it is an inevitability. Comics 100% are going to happen. Books, I can see them doing books like Star Wars. And I do think that video game adaptation doesn't just have to be television. So that is kind of the angle I'm taking this at. But I definitely want a Destiny anime that would adapt, like kind of like a Clone Wars arc style structure, adapting pieces from the lore. And it doesn't even have to be pieces that we've gotten in the games, but that are like relevant and connected. I think that'd be really cool.
I think animation would be really good for it. Honestly.
It's funny. I actually had, back in high school when I was really, really big into Destiny, me and my friends would like come up with what we would want for an adaptation for it, funnily enough. And I had the idea where the whatever it is, show, movie starts out with the player character's ghost in old Russia, which is like how the game starts, sort of flying around, and then it gets hit with a bolt shot, a sniper round. And then from there, the show, because I think I had it as a show, it's just what would happen in the Destiny universe if the one-size-fits-all, fix everything, hyper main character guardian, the player, wasn't there, and how would it play out. So it would be cool. It would be a way to see like Crota and Oryx, et cetera, in a way that's different than how we saw it. I don't know if that's what I would still want, but it's just an idea I had.
That's a neat idea.
Yeah, I think, like, I was talking to James about it once again. If you've played Destiny, you get what I'm coming from. I think a really cool thing that would lend itself really well to, like, an arc that I'm describing is the relationship between Rolk and Savathun. And you could do stuff like that where it's, like, it's relevant to the story of the games, and you're not depriving it, and you're not necessarily just, like, retreading ground. Because I think that would be a little hard. but you're still expanding on it in a cool way. And that sounds like what they want to do. So just like Liam, I think it's inevitability. But I think I'm not trying to be spiteful. I think I'm going to get a little bit of more of what I want than you might be getting.
No, you absolutely are. I have no misgivings about it. But I'm also a fan of Destiny, so I'm cool with that.
Raids would be cool animated movies too.
Yeah, I said this to James. I think it was 2 days ago or yesterday. One of my dream movie ideas is a Suicide Squad-esque movie style for a raid. And I don't know which raid you would do, probably King's Fall or Last Wish. But that would just be awesome.
Absolutely Last Wish.
It would be Last Wish, yeah. And having 6 characters start out and you don't know who's going to make it out, I think it'd be awesome.
Hearing Shell of What Was in a Dolby theater I think I'd ascend. I would unironically ascend. I would lift out of my chair.
Dude, I would want to hear Deep Stone Lullaby in theaters. Ooh, that would be insane.
Close. You guys are making me want to play Destiny. This is crazy.
Oh, no. You should, because it's peak. And
that's the ploy.
Not to commit to anything yet. Not to commit to anything yet, but I'm going to be making some Destiny content. All right, James, you're up, buddy.
So my answer for my dream project would have been a Sonic movie with Jim Carrey as Eggman. However, that has already happened.
This guy, always in character.
You've already gotten what you want.
I've already gotten what I want. Next, good night. No, okay.
Yeah, your second most request.
Second is actually it's funny that all 3 of ours are an inevitability. Mine is actually confirmed happening. Oh. Because I guess that just shows you how quickly the video game adaptation space is growing. That before you'd get like 1 or 2 of these projects and they'd almost certainly be bad. Now the second that a couple of them have made it work, we're talking about all these projects. They're real now. That's wild to me. It's what happened.
One Piece is real.
It's what happened with superhero movies, and this is the next thing. Mm-hmm. So best of luck to any fans of video games. It might get tiring after a while.
Halo fans.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
We'll talk about this.
I'm going to talk about it.
We'll have to cover Halo Season 2. But
oh no!
I've spoken.
No.
It's not too late to edit that out. We don't have to tell them we have to do that.
I can't.
Right, stay on, James.
Okay.
What's your movie?
Oh my god! Don't.
Other dream project actually would be Fallout Done Justice.
True.
Well, I got news.
Yeah.
Well, and I've kind of gone backwards with Fallout. My entry point was 4, and then I went back and played 3 in New Vegas. I actually have started to play 1 a little bit, on and off.
That's cool.
So, yeah, because I have some friends who are big Fallout fans.
2 is peak, for the record.
That is such a good universe to do what, for some reason, all of these people who make these game adaptations are the ones that don't work like to do, where they throw out the game and burn it and never touch it and then go ahead and adapt it anyways. But Fallout's kind of perfect to just understand the world and go take your own characters and do your own story.
For sure,
do whatever you want.
We
already know that's what it's going to be, kind of.
And you can take any setting and make it a cool Fallout location. Like there's fan games. Like there's a game called Fallout Miami that's like a mod game coming out. People will take and just completely make their own Fallout locations based off somewhere
Fallout Chicago, anybody?
But I don't know. Yeah, if that's what they said they're going to do with the Amazon show, that's super cool. That's the thing. I'm excited that Amazon's doing it because we're kind of 3 people who I guess are in the minority who liked Rings of Power. I can't tell if it's like a majority or just loudness with kind of the discourse around that show. But we liked it. I've liked most of what Amazon has put out that I've watched. I know they've had some stuff that people don't like. But if it's on their side of like when they hit, dude, Amazon.
It will be, man. I mean, they're also doing God of War, so it seems like they're investing a lot in video games.
Yeah, because what's the show that everybody hates? Wheel of Time? That's the one.
Yeah, Wheel of Time.
Rings of Power, I guess, is divisive. I don't know. I really can't tell what like the actual.
I mean, they.
Best opinion
they
is.
They have a pretty good track record, though. They have The Boys. They have Man in High Castle, Invincible.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
they're gonna do God of War. We'll see how that's gonna go.
So I want the post-apocalyptic, like long journey through Sunlight Wasteland area. It's like I really hope they nail it.
And tell us about who's doing it.
Do
you know who it is?
Yeah, wait, remind me. It's been a minute.
It's Jonathan Nolan.
Dude, yeah.
Jonathan Nolan is Christopher Nolan's brother. He If you don't know, I feel like he deserves a little bit more recognition. He's kind of Nolan's right-hand man. He writes a lot of his stuff. He was, if I'm not mistaken, like the main brains behind Interstellar. He doesn't get enough credit for that.
He's
He
been
did
an
a lot of
unsung
stuff.
hero.
He did a lot of stuff with Westworld. I know he was involved in that. So
Wow, he's doing Fallout, huh?
he's doing Fallout. Yeah.
So he could really bring kind of that. It's what I think is really missing from 4 is that gritty kind of realism that 3 in New Vegas had.
Thank you.
Like 4 felt very kind of plasticky and artificial. It felt like it got away from the intentionally uncomfortable tone and atmosphere. So I could see I could see Jonathan Nolan bringing that. Yeah, I'm about to say Fallout's super cool. It kind of got put in cryo sleep. Yeah, no, I don't know. I guess that's just where I'm at right now. My answer once upon a time would have probably been Uncharted. But speaking of, that kind of leads us into our next question, doesn't it?
It sure does. Jacob, what is your, totally unrelated, what is your least favorite video game adaptation?
Could be.
I mean, James, you definitely share this, so I'll kind of run this with you a little bit.
Yeah, we can partner up here.
So, ironically, James and I stayed up on Black Friday to go buy a PS5, and we decided to watch the Uncharted movie.
It started as a joke.
It started as a joke. We are big fans of the game. I mean, Uncharted is what made me fall in love with gaming.
Yeah, so like
I think it's still James's favorite IP.
Well, yeah, I got my first at that time like current gen console. I got the PS3. I got it for Batman Arkham Asylum, but it came with Drake's Fortune because they did that bundle like all the time.
Oh, wow, okay.
And that's how I discovered it. And I just remember, dude, I was taken away by that game. I was gassed, you could say. And
so
I love all the games. They are my favorite.
What's the problem with it? Because I haven't seen it, and I also haven't played the game. Yeah, I don't. I know like nothing about this.
Okay, so I'm gonna take this at an angle. If you guys are fans of Uncharted and you've been paying attention just to the entire fandom, you probably would have heard of a short film that Nathan Fillion was involved with, which is exactly what it should be. Nathan Fillion was the direct inspiration for Drake, and he's been enthusiastic about playing the character. James and I were at a convention in Orlando. We were at MegaCon Orlando.
MegaCon.
And someone said, he was asking him a completely unrelated question, but he started it with, it's a shame they didn't cast you Nathan Drake. And he basically said, I agree. He wants to play him super bad. He went out and did a fan film about it. And it's fantastic.
Crazy too. That's crazy for a fan film to bag like a big star like that for something.
So, and I mean, we love Nathan Fillion here. And it's a massive shame, and people kind of wanted it to have the Deadpool effect, right? Where if you don't know,
definitely the desired effect of that.
That was the desired effect, where people wanted it to kind of snowball into a movie, just like Deadpool did. But it never happened, and instead, we got something that it kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier. It has no attention to the game. It completely feels like it abandons it. The characters aren't the characters. They're miscast completely. And I just don't understand what happened. Because Druckmann was involved in it too. And Naughty Dog was involved in it too. And it's like, maybe they were they were just getting their feet wet with the whole video game thing. But, video game adaptation thing. But it was my least favorite thing that came out last year.
Because the other part of that is that the Uncharted movie just was in development hell basically since the first game, like with Mark Wahlberg in the lead, and then he eventually got shifted over to Sully. Like that's how long the project had been going. And he was young enough to play Drake.
And the sad thing about it is that the games, the reason why it frustrates me so bad is it yields itself so well to an adaptation.
Yeah, man, you just gotta basically do Control-C, Control-V. Like, they're games made to be like a blockbuster.
You can adapt the games. Just straight up adapt the games. No one would mind.
Yeah, that's kind of what The Last of Us showed, is it's fine to just do what worked. And people, as long as it's a good version, it's not going to, people aren't going to mind that it's, very similar,
Yeah, and it's like, Uncharted feels like it was, once again, we talked about Druckmann being a bit of an, innovator, and I think it was another part of that where he was like bringing the cinematic feel to games. And I mean, when I was a kid, I wanted an Uncharted movie, and it's like, what happened? And it frustrates me so bad. I have no disrespect for Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. I think they're both good actors.
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg, I'm not so sure in him on a person, but that's a whole other topic. But they're just completely miscast. I mean, it's got to be some of the worst casting decisions I've ever seen. And
Tom Holland it's really
Well,
baffling.
Wahlberg is worse.
Here's the thing with the casting. I'm not immediately against doing like a young Nathan Drake story. Like that could be cool because they do the little flashback in the third game of how they met. And that's like one of my favorite parts of the third game. It could have been cool. And I don't know. I don't know if there were good performances that could have been brought out, but it felt like the movie was just made by a company. And it didn't.
For sure.
I don't know. It's a shame.
It's funny what you guys are saying because it's pretty much my exact problem or multiple problems with my least favorite video game adaptation.
Which is?
Oh.
Easily the Halo show, dude. Not even close.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's
Here's
up there.
the thing. If you want to talk about something that is just on its hands and knees begging you to just straightforward adapt it and embellish however you want for a show, or in my opinion would have been better as a movie, you take the first 3 Halo games, dude. It's right there. It's the freest thing in the entire universe.
I mean,
dude, speaking of another movie with a crazy history and development hell is Halo being adapted.
And I don't know if you've watched this, Liam. There is a really good video out there about how it's by the Act Man, who kind of talks about some similar stuff that we do. And he talks about how easy it would have been to translate the first 10 missions, well, the only 10 missions, of Combat Evolved into a 10-episode series structure, because the missions they're written as episodes, basically, that connect through a final plot.
It is such an easy slam dunk. And they biffed it so hard by this obsession, which comes off, this is so harsh, but it comes off as narcissistic. I'm not even kidding.
I'm with you.
Where the showrunners take this universe and this character with Master Chief, and they just like snarkily and purposefully seem to do the exact opposite of everything that fans wanted. It's, you know what it reminds me a lot of that you guys are gonna groan at?
What?
Last Jedi. Where it's so obsessed with subverting your expectations that it is not a satisfying piece of media to consume. It's like, yeah, I didn't expect you to do that because it's fucking stupid.
I would say that the Halo show is like the heightened extreme that people make The Last Jedi out to be.
Yeah,
Last Jedi fucking sucks.
It feels like the Halo show does it without anything to say with it, without any intention and purpose. It just has Master Cheeks get down to his, did I just say Master Cheeks?
Yeah, well, that happens.
It might as well be
exactly.
Master Cheeks. You know what, James? Despite me being a Last Jedi hater, I will give you that. The Last Jedi was trying to say something interesting.
They get him
you beat me to it.
Just to say they did it.
It's like The Last Jedi, and we're not getting sidetracked.
No,
but
I'm already done talking about it.
So cool.
It has like intentional, at least it's intentional, but I honestly think that the Halo show comes from a place of ignorance.
Yes.
Where they're just like, they're sticking their nose up to the lore that they're adapting.
Yeah, they seem, it's, again, I'll use the word narcissistic again, where they take this beloved universe, which is already in the fucking dumpster at this point, which is such a shame.
It's,
and it's laying out these amazing factions, these beloved characters, these awesome stories, the world. I mean, if you had just done, like you said, or I guess that guy said, just a 10-episode Combat Evolved, where you start off on the Pillar of Autumn and then you just fuck around on the ring. I mean, it would be so perfect. But these people saw this franchise and said, I could do better. I could take all that stuff in the games is nerd shit.
Yeah, these video game writers don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, now watch me do it.
Listen,
you have a certain responsibility when you are adapting someone else's creative work at Rian Johnson. No, I'm done though. to give a shit about it and have a modicum of respect for it, which the Halo show does not. And it's a shame because the production design is great. People obviously worked on it and gave a shit about it. It's just such a misfire. So that's easily my least favorite.
If you want to know what we could have had, Neil Blomkamp was like one of the guys thrown around, along with Peter Jackson producing Halo. But you want to know what Neil Blomkamp then went on to do?
To do Gran Turismo.
He went on to do Gran Turismo. So just know what you could have had, Liam.
Movie of the year. Movie of the generation.
Dude, Peter Jackson and Blomkamp? And we got that?
Peter Jackson touching Halo. That sounds so sick. It's so free. It boggles my mind. What were they thinking? It's so free.
And one thing I want to talk about with Halo before we move on, and this is very personal to me because I'm a longtime Bungie fan and I'm a big OST just enjoyer. It's like 90% of the music I listen to. The way that Microsoft has treated Marty O'Donnell should go down in history as one of the grossest things a company has ever done.
Yeah, and it's despicable.
I may not know before.
Really?
The way they treated him, particularly with the Halo show, where they just... it's just so gross, man. It just is the shape of Theseus. Everyone has left Halo, so it's no longer Halo. Like, you don't have the same franchise.
Go play Destiny instead.
Go play Destiny instead. And
For real.
And it's in a not so good state right now, but I can still say that pretty confidently.
At least it's alive.
Destiny, at least there's like a glimmer of light on the horizon with Final Shape. Halo, what do you have to look forward to if you're a Halo fan?
Season 2.
Season 616 with microtransaction hell, a shop that gets updated, and no new maps. All right,
whatever.
That is a can of worms. You know how we feel about it. The internet feels the same way.
Don't let Sonic outclass you, Halo.
It has.
It's currently outclassed. I guarantee that Sonic Superstars is going to be a better time than hopping on multiplayer in Halo Infinite right now. Let alone the campaign. I just can't even get into it, man.
That's a separate episode.
Dude, that could be a whole episode, man.
Easily.
Oh, dude, that took everything out of me to talk about that.
Listen, 100 subscriber special is going to be the last Jedi Snyder Halo extravaganza.
Oh,
good Lord. That's gonna be upwards of 5 hours long.
All right, so let's get out of our pessimistic rut and let's look towards the horizon at some video game adaptations that are coming up and what we want for them.
What's coming?
So, Liam, I think we can talk about this a little bit, and I don't want to spoil it because James is about to play the game. And personally, if you haven't gotten this game spoiled, like, you're in luck. The BioShock movie is supposed to come out.
Peak, dude. So peak.
BioShock's supposed to come out, I believe, in 2024. And I have some stuff to talk about it. The director is Francis Lawrence. He directed Catching Fire, the Hunger Games movies. He's directing the upcoming Hunger Games movie. He did I Am Legend. I think he's got some chops. I think he can pull it off.
I like Catching Fire. I didn't know he was even coming back for Sunbirds and Snakes. That's awesome.
Yeah, I haven't seen Catching Fire still.
What?
It's good.
I've only seen the first one.
And then the thing that Liam and I are going to get excited about is the writer of the film wrote Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, best movie of all time.
And Logan. So, if they can pull this off, wow. I am very excited for that.
Yeah, that's actually going to rip dick, isn't it?
Yeah, that's probably in like my top 5 most anticipated things just coming up in general.
Have you considered Robert Eggers' Nosferatu?
Video game adaptations. Liam, what's an upcoming one that you're excited for?
Honestly, I know I already talked about it, but I am, beyond just Zelda, I'm very excited to see what Nintendo does. I am in the camp. I know it's cringe. I know I'm a consumer. I know I'm picking the meat off the whale bones at the bottom of the trench like a good little eel. But I think it would be really fun to see like a big Smash Brothers type thing come out of all of these Nintendo movies, which It's not confirmed, but looking to the future, the writing is on the wall. It's
gonna happen.
It's a free $1 billion just sitting there. So
it's more than that, dude. It's more than that.
If they do the work and they make good adaptations of at least Mario, which has already happened, that's a fun movie. Argue with the wall. Zelda, I'm on my knees, please.
Our fans are gonna love that.
I got one.
Metroid can be cool.
Metroid absolutely would rock. I think you could do Kirby. I know there's some naysayers. Yeah, there it is. No, you could do it.
I just don't think it would work. I'm sorry.
I think it would. I totally disagree. But even if you just do those 4 and you cross them over, and then in the crossover they like go into different ones, and you see some deeper cuts like Pikmin, F-Zero, whatever, that would really, really rock. That would make a lot of money. It would be a very fun time to be a video game fan. So that's what I will say.
I think another fun, cool one they could do, and this might be a little bit niche to me, but I do think it is possible, is Luigi's Mansion.
That would be awesome.
I think you could kind of go for the vibe that Haunted Mansion was trying to go for, where it's got a heart, going for it. Haunted Mansion was going for it. It's trying to have some heart, it's a little more approachable to the family, but it's still got the stuff that horror fans like to go to movies for. And those games are awesome. I mean, if you haven't played them, Liam, have you played those games?
I haven't played the new one. I played the one on GameCube, the original.
Well, 3 is fantastic. I loved it. You would eat that game up too. Go play that. I think that would be really fun, especially with Charlie Day.
Got a lot of games on the docket.
Because I feel like Charlie Day did not get enough attention in the Mario movie. So I would like for him to have his own show. James, is there any upcoming stuff other than Fallout, of course, that you're excited for?
I can't believe we haven't mentioned it. Five Nights at Freddy's is dropping.
Holy shit, that's right. Yeah, I am excited for. I'm not gonna lie,
with Matthew Lillard.
Dude, that movie. If you don't think that going to see that movie with your buddies is going to be hilarious, I don't want to hang out with you. I really mean that.
That's gonna be funny.
That movie's going to be so funny, dude. The culture around Five Nights at Freddy's is second to none as far as shit to laugh at on the internet.
I like how I had the choice to bring up either Ghost of Tsushima or that, and that's what I chose to bring up.
I would have done the same thing in your shoes.
But man, Ghost of Tsushima movie.
Oh, that's gonna rock! If the director of John Wick is doing it. Man, oh my god, I'm gonna lose my mind. That's gonna be a banger, dude.
So correct.
I cannot wait to see that in theaters.
You know,
it's beautiful.
Now, can I say one thing that I'd like to see? I think there's so much potential to adapt it, and right now as a game franchise, it's kind of dormant. But I would like to see Assassin's Creed get another attempt. It is, yeah.
Netflix, I got good news.
Right? Netflix is doing like an anthology kind of thing. Which
James, where is the Skyrim?
Honestly,
I've been waiting for it this whole time.
I don't know if it adapt well.
I don't know. I think
or just Elder Scrolls in general.
I think for Skyrim, it's just like I'm ready for even Bethesda to just move on past it. It's like I don't want to encourage direction, like going back in the other direction, you know?
Yeah. That's fair, honestly.
However, like if you had asked me even 5 years ago, I would have said, "Oh my God, Skyrim, do like half a season about the Dark Brotherhood and all this crap."
That'd be awesome.
Exactly. Like Skyrim could be adapted as a show because then you have room to do all the little side quest factions. Start out with the companions, go do the Thieves Guild. Dawnguard would be incredible.
I just finished Dawnguard like 5 minutes before we sat down and recorded.
It's so random to bring up, but there is just there's like some moments in Dawnguard that would be great for TV, I think.
Mm-hmm. And then you could have the washed up later season with Dragonborn.
Yeah, exactly. That's like we don't care anymore. Season 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Elder Scrolls in general. I think the fantasy world it's getting very popular right now with House of the Dragon and Rings of Power. And I might be blanking. The Witcher's trying. God bless.
Oh.
That's another video game adaptation.
I would love to see Elder Scrolls. I wouldn't mind it. I think there's just a couple things that have taken up that space in my mind now. Actually,
you mentioned Assassin's Creed, and I mean that's coming out from Netflix.
Well, hot take. I enjoyed the like first civilization Easter eggs and trinkets that they would throw in to the past story.
I don't know if they would do that.
They probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
They wouldn't. And I know that's a hot take. There's so many people who are like, get rid of that, get rid of the.
Yeah, it's kind of fat on the meat, but I get
That
it.
being said, I enjoy seeing how they managed to weave that into every historical event, which could be cool for an anthology show. And
yeah, I think anthology is gonna be pretty sick.
Crazy that the games never paid that off. They built that shit up for like a decade and then said, never mind.
Well, and I know this might get some size out there because I know it's not the most popular IP, which I don't know why. I don't understand why.
What is it?
There's another thing that Netflix is doing, which is Horizon. I know it is not the most popular thing out there. I know it has its naysayers, but those games
do not care.
Yep. There you go. Those games have a lot of heart. The world is incredibly unique and cool. I really like the vibe of it, and I am excited for them to adapt it. And I really appreciate that we get a new IP that comes out, and we're getting sequels and TV show adaptations, and it isn't this thing that's been around for decades. So I'm excited for Netflix to do that. I think that's going to be cool.
And also, I got to throw out two more. I think at least one is actually like in some kind of development. I have a buddy who just started me on both of these franchises. Resident Evil, as it's actually like as a game, not what they did with the movies. An accurate Resident Evil.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
And Silent Hill would both be incredible. I think now just as much as when they were like super popular. And
I would absolutely take a Resident Evil 2 movie. That's one of my favorite games of all time.
Well, I think it's Silent Hill that's going to be getting an adaptation right now.
It is getting a movie. Yeah.
I'm looking at.
That's going to be a scary ass movie, dude.
It's going to be a terrifying movie,
dude. Resident Evil definitely deserves because I just started the very first game, and yeah, come on, that'd be so cool. I think video game like horror video games could make really good movies.
I would see a really intense found footage Outlast movie.
I would struggle if somehow.
Oh my god, I could not sit through that. I would have a heart attack.
I adore that video game.
No, I'm good.
James, how have you not said Sonic 3?
Because it's a given. Do I breathe? Like, of course. Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
The sky is blue, grass is green. James is excited.
Yeah, all right, fine. If I gotta really make sure everybody knows, listen, Keanu Reeves, if you're listening, there's a role that is calling your name, and it's Shadow the Hedgehog. He's there. He's waiting.
That's your fan cast for Shadows, Keanu Reeves?
Are you kidding me? Yes. If he can do SpongeBob, come on, man.
I would have.
Or John Berthenau or whatever, like Punisher.
I would have Tom Holland do Shadow.
No,
I would have John Barenthal do it. That would be great.
What is that? What is that, huh?
Anyways,
I think
I got a couple more I want to talk about. Couple more.
Okay, we're at 57.
Okay, we can adapt. We were talking about Amazon Prime, and I'm just looking this up here. I mean, they are doing more than I thought. They're going to be doing a Tomb Raider show, thank God, because the movie's kind of mid. And those games are awesome. Especially the reboot. I love that game. I know it's kind of controversial. And they are also doing, which is a fantastic game, and the game that I am so glad I got Game of the Year, which is It Takes Two. If you don't know what It Takes Two is, it is a very unique game where it's like a cooperative narrative. So it's structured like a single player game, but there's two players. And the story is really, really heartwarming, and I didn't even know it was in development. So that I'm actually pretty excited for that. And then there's also, not related to Amazon, is Metal Gear Solid.
Huh. Good luck.
Minecraft.
How the hell do you even do that? The games can't even adapt the story.
Well, Oscar Isaac is attached to play Snake. How do you feel about that?
Oh, okay.
I like Oscar Isaac. I don't know. I don't really see him as Snake. What do we know?
I don't really
is he going to be Big Boss, or is he going to be which Snake? There are a lot of snakes.
I don't know enough about the lore. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's just the problem. It's so Metal Gear. Good luck. That's all I'm gonna say. Is good luck.
Don't forget about a live action Minecraft with Jason Momoa.
What?
Man, do you know about that? They're making a live action Minecraft movie in Jason Momoa.
Are you wait? I thought that was a shit post. Are you serious?
No, it's a real thing.
We live in confusing times, viewer. Singular viewer who hasn't clicked off yet.
And the Among Us show. Don't forget about that too.
We really are entering the golden age.
We are entering the golden age.
Video game adaptations.
It ushered in by Gran Turismo.
The actual adaptation you should be excited for, just for the discourse alone, will be The Last of Us Part 2.
Oh, boy.
Unless we have anything else, that is it for me.
Pray for that actress. I'm done here.
We're going to lose on that note. Yeah, James?
I don't think so. Just also, God bless that actress, because it's going to be split into two seasons.
Yeah, it's over.
Almost certainly.
It's over.
But you know what? You never know. I think there are already people coming around to that story. So fingers crossed, hope for the best. Yeah, that's it for me.
All right, well, that is all we got. Thank you.
Don't forget about the Knuckles show on Paramount Plus.
That's all we got for today, ladies and gentlemen. Before James keeps talking about Sonic anymore, it is time to go. If you stick around this long, we really, really appreciate it. Please slap this video with a like. I mean, you sat here for like an hour. You owe us. Subscribe, comment, do all of that fun stuff. We will see you next time when I think we are talking about Blue Beetle, unless I'm wrong. Whatever. We'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching.
We're going to talk about Blue Beetle, and then we're going to record a podcast about the DCU.
What he said. Thank you, baby.